I found in working with clients that so many people are seeking these spiritual experiences because they want to escape this embodiment. The body doesn't feel safe, the environment doesn't feel safe, and it's very reasonable to feel that way, right? We are living in pretty tumultuous times where life is very unpredictable. We have a lot of unhealed experiences that we've lived with since childhood,
Hmm.
adolescence, you name it. So it all makes sense why. So there is no shame or guilt or like negativity towards that seeking of spirituality. However, I do help people kind of ground back into this experience so that we can heal the layers of their experience and from there rebuild that connection with the divine energy so that we're not running from, we're running with and coming back to. And so it just creates a different energy resonance all the way around and provides us the support and comfort that we've always needed.
Caring for others is part of your life, but it's not all of it. This is your space for growth, confidence, and connection to the whole you. Welcome to the Dali Talks podcast. Welcome to the podcast, Candice. I'm really excited to introduce people to you because I've personally experienced getting some Reiki done, and that's something that you do. But tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you having me on. As always, you are such a lovely light and energy. So I'm really excited to dive in. About me, so I'm a holistic practitioner. I learned under Reiki and I now do what's called grounded spirituality. And to go back a little bit into my story, what got me into all of the things holistic and energy work and really focusing on understanding the patterns that are within our body was due to my personal experience. So, I have been a person who has long suffered from depression, anxiety in the past. I have since been able to heal most of it. I will say there's always, you have moments, right? We have moments, and there is no perfection in any of this work. And the moment that you think you're done, you're always healing something else. So, I got myself to a certain point and then I felt like I was stuck. And
Mhm.
like I was doing all the things, personal development, running, lifting, healthy, eating healthy, all the things. And I still just really felt stuck. I feel like I wasn't moving forward. My finances were staying in the same place. Like it was the same story over and over each day. And so when I found energy work, I'd like to say it kind of just found me. I had stepped into a role as a manager of a yoga studio that was launching and being super active in the community. I was a part of the chamber and met my master there. And so it was then that I was just like, this is what I need to do. I just wanted to dive into all of the things. And I knew in my 20s that I had this gift. I was telling my friends at the time, I was like, man, I really feel like I feel this energy that comes out of my hands, or I feel like I feel other people's energy. And I was very empathic for most of my life. I've since been able to hone in into when I turn that on and off, which I was asked about that this weekend actually at a mini retreat that I hosted. And so I've learned how not to dial into everyone's energy all at the same time. And so it was like a practice and it came to me and it helped me really find myself, even though I had done a lot of identity work. And a lot of the work that I do is very foundational in that I help guide people through how to understand who they are at the core of who they are instead of all of the external labels and everything that they've come to understand about themselves, which kind of leads me into the practice and belief that I have is that I found in working with clients that so many people are seeking these spiritual experiences because they want to escape this embodiment. The body doesn't feel safe, the environment doesn't feel safe, and it's very reasonable to feel that way, right? We are living in pretty tumultuous times where life is very unpredictable. We have a lot of unhealed experiences that we've lived with since childhood,
Mhm.
adolescence, you name it. So it all makes sense why. So there is no shame or guilt or like negativity towards that seeking of spirituality. However, I do help people kind of ground back into this experience so that we can heal the layers of their experience and from there rebuild that connection with the divine energy so that we're not running from, we're running with and coming back to. And so it just creates a different energy resonance all the way around and provides us the support and comfort that we've always needed.
Right. Okay. You just said so much there. Have so many questions. First of
Yeah.
all, I love it. Because when you speak about energy work, I think that people go to, oh, this is something woo woo. So can
Mhm.
you talk about maybe if it's science backed or how what myths or stereotypes should we debunk so that people can be more open-minded to trying it aside
Mhm.
because so many people are close to traditional therapy or counseling.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
I personally believe that this is definitely a solution and option that could work for so many people. And I don't want them to close their mind off to the possibility.
Yeah, I was having a wonderful conversation with a gentleman this morning about language and how we can easily take a word and kind of close our minds off, and it can spark in our energy, actually, in our nervous system, the resistance to any form of this type of work. And there's many reasons and layers to why. And I want to say that a lot of the people, the clients that I work with, are very brand new to this practice. So I'm really good at being able to ease people into the understanding portion because I was skeptical too. And I also had to do a lot of inner work and reflection work to see if it was aligned for me because there are so many different beautiful practices and they all serve a purpose. Therapy and counseling, all of that combined with any of these somatic practices can really elevate our experience. So with energy work, there's a ton of science to support all of the things, which is really exciting. We have been studying this for so long, and I don't know why these studies are not front of line. Well, I kind of do, but I won't go there. But all of these scientists have been trying to correlate different aspects of spirituality into the brain, into the body, and it just really seeing how does it overall help the function of our energy? Can they measure it? And so they've been able to measure practitioners that are in close proximity with their client. They've been able to measure it from a distance. And energy is exactly that. You can never take away energy, you can only shift it. And with energy, I like to say it's all about the intention that you place behind it. Because we can always intend for something good or bad, and that's even, gray area there. But energy is all about the exchange. So we
Mhm.
all vibrate at a frequency. And depending on what you're going through at the time, you will vibrate at a certain frequency in general. So every single emotion has a frequency in which it vibrates at. That's why we say we have low energy or we're really hyper energy. So we're internally saying these things, whether we recognize it or not. And we pick up on the fact that our energy shifts depending on who we're around, what we're doing, the food that we ate. And so when I look at energy, it's not only just the energy work itself. Energy encompasses everything from, again, the food that you eat, what you're listening to, who you're hanging out with. So your environment is really big factor. And then just the foundations of your energy. So what you grew up around, you will typically recreate that environment in your life in different ways. And there's no good or bad. It's just you get really comfortable at where you're at. And so that's why I'll even just leap forward, but that's why whenever you step into something new, it feels so uneasy because it's outside of your normal energy resonance to be there.
Right, I agree. And I agree about energy. I'm a big believer of it. And I think that before I even found out about holistic approaches and Reiki, I
Hmm.
always knew somehow that there was this pull. I'm gonna describe it that way as a pull of energy within me and within other people. And it's like I want to use this example for those people who are kind of like against the fence or trying anything holistic is when you walk into a room, say like you're a kid and you didn't do the dishes and your parents mad.
Hmm.
You walk into the room and without saying a word, you feel that energy if your parent is upset or not. And I think it's no different than that. And people take this, they hear Reiki and they're like, oh, that's all woo woo. But it's just exactly the same thing, right? It's
Hmm.
just learning how to notice it. And would you say that our intuition is a form of energy?
Oh yeah. So all of everything that how we are made up. So every single, I use the chakra system as a roadmap to really understand. And for those that don't know, the chakras each align within our body. They are related with, they're called energy centers as well. So an easy way to say it. And they all develop at different stages of our development. So the root is, birth or actually conception until about three. The solar plexus is about three-ish to five. And it just kind of goes up from there. The lower three, the solar sacral and why am I the root solar sacral? Oh my
Mhm.
goodness, are all developed within that first 7 years of our existence. And so I share all of that because, looking at them, they all build up into what we believe, which is our intuition. So our root is all about the foundations and the understanding that we have within our community. So whether that's our relationship to our parents or caretakers, how we fit into the world, what we believe about the world. And it's, again, it's very foundational. We hear people say a lot about grounding. I'll get into that in a second. But from a development state, it's really kind of what you believe and what your values are. And so
Mhm.
from there, you then go up to the sacral energy, which is the seat of our emotions. It's also where our creativity is birthed. It's passion, desire, purpose, and as you're developing, you take on the environment's version of these things after a certain age. So you can kind of see where conditioning can kind of shift what you're passionate about. But then you go up to the solar plexus, which is all about you and your autonomy and how you fit into the world exactly as you and your authority. And it's again more of that belief in you being individual. It's where we undergo the terrible twos, things like that. And depending on how supported we were as children, will really dictate how our confidence is birthed, how we feel about talking and speaking our truth,
Mhm.
because it's all about the support from the environment that helps us truly mature into who we are. So as we continue up, we're going into the heart center, and which is what we believe about ourselves as far as conscious love and how we connect in with others. And most of the time, that's a reflection mirrored moment. So if we don't feel great about ourselves, the world can also feel not so great. It's also the divine love. So if we go back to where the sacral energy, that's more desire, passion, and that intimacy love. The
Mhm.
heart space is more of the higher conscious love. So I see you as you see me. We're all equal kind of connection. We're all connected. So I think of that more as like the community version of love. And then we go into the throat, which is all about communication. So, how do we not only communicate to the world, but how are we internalizing that communication? How are we digesting it? How are we really mapping out what to say next? And how do we speak authentically from a space that is, I like to say, non-wounded. So, coming from the non-emotional, non-attack side, but more of a grounded state of understanding. And I can go into that later, but
Mhm.
so you can see as we're continuing to go up the line, where any of that development gets stalled, it can really switch on or off your ability to do these different things because they're all interconnected. And so as we continue up, our intuition is our third eye, and it is all about our vision. So, what we see in ourselves, what we see in others, what we see physically, also our vision for our lives, and it's also our intuition. So, it's the ability to trust in ourselves, the ability to see things through and to not second guess ourselves. No,
Mhm.
I will say that again, they're all connected because also, you get that gut feeling, right? So that
Mhm.
gut feeling is also related with your personal power and understanding. So again, all of this is energy, cycling through your body, developing through your body, and which reaches us to the crown, which is our higher conscious connection. So if you believe in God, the universe, the divine, however you resonate with it, that is your connection. So that is literally how you communicate, in other words. So if you pray,
Mhm.
if you meditate, you journal. But also it's the messages that you receive in so that you can filter through and process. So absolutely, intuition is a part of energy. And you can kind of hopefully that later roadmap and has minds going like, oh my gosh, I never thought about this.
Hmm. Yeah, that's really, thank you for breaking it down. And I had no idea about that until I first tried it. So, and I've only tried it twice. I loved it
Mhm.
each time. I really need to go back, but I've never done it remotely, and that's what you do, right? 100% remote. So can you walk
Yeah,
us through
right now.
what does that look like?
Yeah, so two things. I will give your listeners the PDF download that I created for my retreat, which has all of them broken down and even has little markers for if they're off balance. Because it's one thing before I jump into remote. The big thing to recognize is that you can always feel in your body when something is off. And
Hmm.
so the body is like the number one place that when your energy is displaced or when it's off, like off balance is what we call it, you will feel it somehow. So whether you're having an interruption in your digestion or let's even say you get a cold, all of these are different signals that you're going through some form of processing within your energy. And when you even look back at these different experiences that you have, you can even begin to see what were the triggering moments for my body that sent me into this dysregulation. And that's one of the biggest things that we can do is just to listen. So even doing a body scan to be like, what is my body physically saying to me? And then find the emotion attached to it. And that's just one layer of being inquisitive without even doing energy work. So how energy work actually works is that the practitioner is basically the stand-in. So I am helping you come to balance through energy itself, like through source energy. And so I'm connected in and asking for divine guidance. So in sessions, whether remote or in person, I will just do a body scan to feel what's going on in the body. I will get sensations and I will sometimes, it comes through the form of like tingles, or I might even get a stomach cramp. I might have a headache. I will feel what is going on in the body and be able to tell where the energy is stuck. And the way that this works remotely is that we're all divinely connected. So, like, I work with clients in Germany, I work with them in Australia, so not big time zone differences.
Right.
And it all works the same because we are divinely connected. It's kind of like when you think of someone and then they text or call you,
Hmm.
or you even say to yourself, "Oh, I need to reach out to so and so," and then they end up messaging you. It's
Right.
that a divine connection that we are just putting out the signal of, "Hey, I'm thinking about you." And so if you're connected with that person, you're basically on the soul plane, like sending them a message. It's
Hmm.
kind of like the internet and the Wi-Fi. We don't know that
Right.
it exists, but it's there. Like
You're
we still
synchronized. Yeah.
you're just there.
Right.
Same thing with energy work, and it is all about intention. So when I'm going into my practice, I'm connecting in with the divine and I'm asking for everything to be in the highest good of all and to guide me through what the person needs. So it's never from me or of me. I'm literally just I don't want to say conduit, but I'm like the vessel. I'm
Hmm.
the person that channels the energy so that you can come back into balance. And a lot of times in my practice, I will receive divine messages for the person. Most of the time, they're just different confirmations of what they're going through. And it's kind of insane sometimes because I will have the messages come through at the beginning of their session and then sometimes throughout the session. And so far it has not been off. Like
Wow.
I don't, it
Hmm.
always feels weird to me sometimes. I'll be like, do I say this? It's gonna sound crazy. But it's always what they need to hear because
Hmm.
I'm not here to interpret the message. I'm here to deliver it. And
Right.
so that's what makes it a little bit different. But
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, I was a little bit skeptic the first time, and I remember, and it was in person, and I remember the person, she just like washed her hands and dried them, and she hovered her hands over my body, and I think she began at the head.
Mhm.
Yeah. And I remember she said, just relax, close your eyes, and I did. And I remember smelling like that pink Johnson and Johnson baby lotion on her
Hmm.
hands. And I was like, oh, how funny because I didn't see her put any lotion on. I saw her
Yeah.
clean her hands or whatever. And then it reminded me of my baby girl, my firstborn, when she was a baby.
Hmm.
So, didn't think anything of it. At the very end, like an hour later, she'd written some notes down. She's like, yeah, I sense that you were thinking about a child, a baby, like a little baby girl. And I was like, what?
Hmm.
That was
Hmm.
crazy. So like this is odd. And then she said other things that I was like, oh my gosh, how do you get that from my body without touching me or anything? It's like,
Hmm.
you're not a mind reader, you're not a like a psychic or anything like that, but it's like the that energy uh just gave her, I guess, the message. And I know some people are still like hearing that might be very, very skeptical, but I went to another session with a different person. Same thing, similar thing happened where I didn't say anything. And I want
Hmm.
people to understand it's not like you first go to Candice and you tell her your life story and then she does the energy work and she's like, oh, well, this and this and this happens because she got all the answers from your conversation. It's not like that.
Yeah.
And I think that's
Yeah.
the most incredible thing to be able to go to somebody who can pull all of that out of you.
Hmm.
And um, for me, I feel like that was in a way like a cleansing,
Hmm.
which is something that I cannot really get from therapy, which I've done for many, many years because I've got my own issues.
Hmm.
And I feel like a good combination for me is both the holistic
Yes.
part and
Yes.
the therapy part. So I don't want to, like people to come away with like, don't do therapy at all. No, like if you need it, go for it. But do
Hmm.
think about this as an option as well, because for me, it's been very powerful. And I have been encouraging my daughters to do it because they're teenagers, and I feel like teenagers,
Hmm.
oh, they're going through so much right now. So have you worked with younger folks, like teens?
Yeah,
Mhm.
so that's something that I'm starting to do more often now.
Mhm.
I have worked with, so I've worked with children in the ICU before. I've
Wow.
worked, yeah, I'm very blessed to have the opportunity to support others in their energy practice because the ICU incident was a friend of mine who's also a practitioner, and I just happened to see like her update about her birthing process, and we knew that the child was going into the ICU at this point, and so I just reached out to her just to share support as, a friend, and I said, "Do you want me to do an energy session? Like I'm very open to help," and it was my first to ever do for an infant, and so during the session. I went in and you always start by supporting the body. And children and teenagers, they don't need a lot of energy work. Teenagers more so than younger children, but they're really open and receptive because they're really still in that spiritual world for the most part, or the spiritual understanding of the world. Let me say
Hmm.
it like that. Anyway, so I went in to do the energy session and I had a picture of him, but I could feel this was before they put the tube down to start. I was like, oh, they're about to, I messaged her and I was like, hey, there's something that's blocking his throat. And there she's like, oh, they're putting the tube in. And so it was
Oh,
like,
wow.
okay, that makes
Hmm.
sense. And so that was the first thing. And then being able to hear the child. So I heard a message that he was telling her, keep singing to me. And I was
Hmm.
like, this is really weird for me. Like, I was like, what if I say this and it's wrong? And I
Right.
like, you're just. And so I told her, I said, hey, he's telling me that he wants you to sing to him. And she just started crying. She's like, oh my gosh, I had been singing to him the entire time. and the nurses told her to stop because he
Wow.
was in an incubator and they thought it would like disrupt his energy, basically make him worse. And I was like, oh
Mm-hmm.
no, he wants you to do that.
Wow.
Um, and it was really
Mm-hmm.
interesting for me as a practitioner because, that was my first ever to experience somebody who can't tell me if that's the
Mm-hmm.
truth, right? So that was the first part. And in the energy session, I not only supported the energy of the child, then it went to the parents, the room, the staff, and the doctors, and those that were supporting this child. And she's a practitioner, so she felt it, but then the nurses felt the support, which was really cool too. And now he's doing really well. I mean, he's
Mm-hmm.
older. And when it comes to young adults and children, they are more open to their own spiritual gifts and to be able, they're trying to figure it out. And
Right.
so how we can help support them instead of minimizing their experience, and this is across the board, anything that they're going through, really. And this is the stuff I wish I had as a parent because I
Mm-hmm.
was a really young parent. I really wish I would have had this stuff. Is to guide them into how to start to meditate.
Mm-hmm.
Meditation is like the biggest first step for them because in meditation is where we can really open ourselves up to receive and be given that support. Teenagers are often, they feel isolated as it is because they feel like they're the only one going through what they're going through. And while they chat with their friends and they spill the tea and all of that, on the inside, they still kind of feel that isolation. And so, however, we can best support them and in learning about it first. And with energy work, it's always about permission. So, like, I will never do energy work for someone who doesn't know that I'm giving energy work because we all have different belief systems and we have different practices. And it's almost like peering into their window if I were to go in and do
Mm-hmm.
energy work, and it's just invasive, and I just don't do it, obviously.
Right.
And all practitioners believe that, or those of integrity believe that. And so with teenagers and young adults, again, I think the best support is to offer them the opportunity to learn and see if it's the right thing for them. They will always know, just like an adult will always know. I've worked with clients who have followed me for years before they signed up for their first session.
Mm-hmm.
So it just takes when you're ready. And there's what I hope people understand is like when I'm connected in, and I say connected in because I start with a prayer and I'm just asking for that divine guidance and support to support me as the practitioner, to support the session itself, and to have that higher guidance and wisdom so that this body can heal because this body is here to help the collective in some way. We're all here to serve at some capacity. And so in that session when I'm connected, it is the most divine support I had ever experienced in my own life. And if you remember like my story, like the part that I shared, when you feel depressed, isolated, and alone, to feel support for the first, like the purest support, like I didn't have to do anything. It was literally just me being supported and held. It's something that I hope everyone can experience because there is this purity about it. And I truly believe the more and more we come to understand that divine connection, the less we would see all of this hatred, all of the just the not so great things in the world happening because there's just no way. If we all felt supported, if we all felt loved, if we even knew the depth of that word, love,
Right.
and I just know the world could change. And especially for our kids in this next generation they've gone through a lot. Like we went through a lot as kids. I'm not going to say we didn't. We did.
Mm-hmm.
80s kid, 90s kid, but we had it relatively, quote, easy
Mm-hmm.
compared to them, I think. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying that, like, and I had a pretty intense time period, but they have so many extra stressors and they're constant. And the conversation I was having this morning that reminded me, it's like when we're watching these things, so if they're on social media, the news, or experiencing life in general, those can be really deep triggers for our nervous system. and it's so subconscious that we don't
Hmm.
even recognize it's
Oh
happening.
yeah. Hmm.
So if we're able to give them tools to understand how to go back into that regulation, because energy work has been proven to take the body into rest and digest. So it takes us out of the fight or flight system and puts us into rest and digest. I even have a client that at the last two sessions he's had have registered our sessions as naps. Like on his little watch. I was like, oh, that's
Hmm.
so cool. I love it.
Yeah.
But there's data and science to support the work itself. And so, and I can try to find some of the articles that they've gone in and done extensive research because they've researched all of this,
Hmm.
everything clairvoyance to the energy work itself. And there's a great book by Dr. Lisa Miller called The Awakened Brain. And she talks about how we are born with 30% the desire, and it's in our brain to connect with something higher. The other
Hmm.
70% of that development is our external environment. So that kind of shows you that like we're born desire like with this desire with it in our brain. It has a little spot. So it's
Right.
not that it's there. It's there.
Yeah. I can see so many solutions to many world problems by adopting this energy work. As you know what I do. I do bullying awareness and prevention
Hmm.
education. And one of the
Yes.
things that I did early when I started my business back in 2017 is I spoke to a school principal and I suggested energy work as a method of helping the bully. And he laughed at me
Um,
because, and I get it because so many people are still closed to this type of work. But
hmm
I recognized back then that there is a need for humans to tap into themselves. And it's a
hmm
practice that we don't do here in Western culture.
No.
And then years later, I learned within the district, a principal adopted a meditation session, and the rates of bullying dropped so much, and just the overall
Hmm.
issues in the school. And I was like, "Ha!" I just got
Yeah.
satisfaction just
Yeah.
knowing because I knew I was right.
Hmm.
And I think when people hear the words like divine, they get like, "Oh, that's all woo woo" or whatever. And I'm always wonder like, I wonder if I guess the language word changed a little bit, more people would be open to
Hmm.
it.
Hmm.
And it's a shame to have to even think to do that, but that's the reality. Some people just
Yeah.
don't, they hear that and they're like, oh, no, that's not for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I do have another question in regards to working with kids, because I know in the space that I work in, safety is always a concern, especially
Hmm.
nowadays with so many people targeting
Right.
kids for different reasons. So
Oh
if
my
you were
gosh. Yeah.
to work with kids virtually or in person, would that require the parent to be in the session, just sit there quietly while you do the work?
Yeah, so with children, I can always record the sessions for the parents,
Hmm.
like that is always an option. And yes, I do require that there's consent and that
Hmm.
they are in, because they are underage, and that's just a protection mainly for myself, just
Hmm.
because the world is the way it is. But
Yeah.
with again with the energy sessions, it's all about that integrity. And if we can get the parent and child to be one together, meaning be in that session and hear, like if the child can feel comfortable opening up about what they're actually experiencing, I think that's the biggest thing that matters the most. And to be able to share that vulnerability with their parent, that's what I would like, what my biggest desire is, because
Hmm.
the more that our kids feel safe with us at home, it's foundational, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of the clients that I work with right now, and they come from various backgrounds. A lot of them have disjointed relationships with a parent, and if not both. And it really creates such a hardship later on in their life of safety, security, acceptance. And so if I can help bridge that gap just in some way. So to answer, yes, the parents do, especially if they're under like 15, I really do
Hmm.
want the parents in there with them. What I like to invite is for the child to have that open space and that comfortability and have the parent understand and hear them. And how it works is before a session anyway, I go in to ask for that support so that the communication flow is there. And I've had a lot of clients come in and they just start crying and they don't even know why. They're like, I don't even, I was not anticipating this and we're only 2 minutes in. And it's just because their body physically knows that they're safe. It
Mm,
just knows that they're in a safe space, they're able to open up, and it just allows that softening to happen. And again, and I work with I've worked with several moms and daughters that are older, and I even worked with a mom, a daughter, and a grandmother. That was really fun.
wow.
Yeah, because the grandma was like, I think she's 80 something, but it was really great for me because as a practitioner, I can see the transference and like where
Mhm.
energy has been passed into generations and like so I'm able to help heal on that level too. And I'm able to help them bridge the gaps because they do it with adults, you have to keep it private, but it's easy for me to then go in and do my thing because I'm like, oh, here's where the disconnect is. And again, what I was given in a message, and I hope this isn't too woo, but
Mhm.
I was given this message a couple months ago that as parents, we're really meant to evolve our role going forward, meaning it doesn't need to be that we are above or in authority of our kids. And I'm not suggesting
Mhm.
gentle parenting. I'm not suggesting not to do things and have boundaries. But we are their guide, and
Right.
they should not feel intimidated by us. They should know where they should have those safe boundaries, right? And like we don't want them to like harm themselves, but we are here to help them understand who they are and like what their purpose is in this life. And we're seeing it with AI coming out and people kind of questioning job security and everything. So this is like even more imperative for us to allow our kids to evolve into what they're here to do because we're seeing that traditional jobs could very well go away.
Oh, yeah.
And, so I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, but how can we support them in their evolution and their connection to source energy? Hopefully that's a softer word, but and so then that message was that again, we're not meant to be above them, we're meant to walk alongside them and to help them awaken so that they don't repeat the cycles and patterns that have gone on for centuries.
Right. And I think a lot of people are more aware that that happens. And I feel like that's part of the reason why people are now more open to different modalities like holistic approaches, which I absolutely love. But one of my questions is before I went, one of my questions was, well, how do I know this practitioner is the right practitioner for me?
Mhm.
Like, so can you answer that question just for people? I'm sure others have the same question.
Yeah, I think it's more like you'll know, but look into their practice itself. What are their belief systems? What do they offer as far as support and guidance before and after a session? And really understand, can you have a call with them beforehand? Like that, I recommend that 100%. Like it's not listed on my website that people can do a discovery call with me, but I do offer that because energy is sacred. Like
Hmm.
it is your space, that is your personal space. And so you always want to have that person that truly understands who you are and listens. It's no different than a therapist or a doctor. They are connecting in with you, and that is a very not only vulnerable, but needs to be a safe space for you in general. And so getting a deeper dive into who they are will really be valuable because every practitioner practices differently. I know there's different types of energy work, so that's the other thing is what are you looking for in the work itself? Because you can do somatic practices, you can do yoga, you can have sound healing, energy medicine, all of it, herbal medicine and acupuncture, massage
Hmm.
therapy. So it's
Yeah,
like the list goes
EFT.
on and
Yeah.
on. Like
Hmm.
holistic
Right.
practices, there's so many. And listen to your intuition. If you know and you have, and I get it that you could be building that again, so it might be hard to like, am I trusting or not?
Hmm.
You will usually know if it's a yes or a no. And saying no, and I say this across the board, saying no is not a missed opportunity. It's opening space for what's actually meant to be.
Mm.
And you will find that right practitioner on heal.me, which is where I'm listed as a practitioner. There are thousands of practitioners that are on there. So, and you can, again, see their background, see their reviews, kind of see what their energy is how I would word it. But yeah, making sure that you're asking those questions. So make sure it's in alignment for you. Because again, everybody has a different belief system and has different comfortability levels. So it's just about finding that person that aligns.
Right. So, I mean, you're working all day with people and their energy. So, how do you protect your own energy when you're holding space for others?
Yeah, so one of the biggest things that I've learned, and I learned this years ago, was that I used to be very empathic, meaning and I'm still empathetic, but I've chosen not to take on the energy of others. And that was a
Hmm.
choice and a decision that I had to learn I could make. Don't get me wrong, there's every once in a while I'm in public and I can feel, I'm like, whoo, there's a person over here that has a really strong energy. But you just ground into your own energy a little bit further. Um, and so for myself, I have different rituals and practices that I set in place. So I'm always clearing the space in between client sessions. We do wash our hands in the middle. It's like a cleansing. So water is very cleansing and
Hmm.
grounding at the same time. I go for a walk if I can in between sessions, or even if it's just like around the backyard, like just to get, cleared out of the space. And then it's all about intention. So I really set the energetic intention that I'm disconnecting from this client. And that's why I have transition periods in between clients because I do want that reset time.
Okay. Yeah. And that makes total sense because, just like a doctor needs a doctor as well, you must too,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. Well, and
Yeah.
that's the thing. That's something I want to add on to is, when you're looking at practitioners, your practitioner should be somebody who is actively working on themselves too. Like I do my own energy work, but then I also work with another practitioner and check in because we all miss things. Like there's nothing wrong with having support. In fact, we're here to support one another. So keep that in mind too. They should be
Hmm.
like a person that likes to grow and evolve themselves, which most are. Most are.
Yeah. Okay. And what's one woo-woo tool or ritual you swear by, even if people give you the side eye for it?
So I always have selenite
Ah,
and
uh-huh.
I use Palo Santo. So
Uh-huh.
selenite wands are really good for clearing energy. So I have it all over my house. Well, technically not yet because we just moved, but it will be
Hmm.
there. But usually I have them in every single room in some area. So whether it's the windowsill or on a cabinet or a bookshelf, because selenite is like almost think of it like just a cleansing. It's just a cleansing. It just clears the energy before it comes in. It can clear other rocks or crystals if you have any. I really love this because it is how I do an aura brushing, which aura brushing is something, or an energy brushing,
Hmm.
where let's say you're out in public, we're always picking up on other people's energy. It's just a part of being here on this human earth. Like we're
Right.
just here. And so what you can do is take the selenite and just brush off, kind of
Oh.
like as if you're brushing your hair. You're literally
Hmm.
brushing your energy and clearing it. And just with the intention behind it, saying, I'm clearing my energy and sending anything that's not mine back to the originator in love and light. And it's poof, be gone, you're done. And then Palo Santo, I use it all the time in my
Hmm.
sessions because it is just a beautiful ancient cleansing. I'm not huge on sage because it just burns so much
Hmm.
outside, but it gets a little thick in the house. But I love Palo Santo because it's the wood and the earth, and it just I don't know, it resonates the most with me.
Right. Yeah, I definitely have used a lot of sage and Palo Santo.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I to do the brushing. I'm gonna do that now because my kids, they're really into the energy stones. And that's why
Mm-hmm.
I've been like, hey, you should really try Reiki.
Yeah,
And so,
that's so fun.
and they're like, oh, I'll get to it. But yeah, I didn't know. And I know like they do certain rituals with them, like certain stones go by the door or like
Mhm.
always carry something in their purse or their
Yeah.
bag, their book bag to keep them safe and stuff like that. And I feel like but some people think that's crazy, but you really have to believe in the energy that things, because everything, not just humans, give out energy. And when you look back at history and like indigenous tribes, they've always
Mhm.
believed in energy. And what I
Mhm.
love about it, the science part of all of this, is that it always ties back to your nervous system, which is what
Mhm.
triggers, what can calm us down, what can help us think with clarity. So if anything, I want people to know, hey, it impacts your nervous system. Give it a try. Um,
Yeah.
so
Well, to piggyback off what you're
mhm,
saying, so how rocks are formed, I have a couple of books on how, because of how the rocks undergo their morphosis or metamorphosis, I don't know.
mhm,
I don't know, just help me there. But
yes,
essentially, the way that rocks are formed
mhm,
carries a specific energy signature, whether it was banged across, whether it was washed over,
mhm,
all of it forms from a different energy signature, and that's what they carry. So every single rock is formed in a different energy resonance, and that's why they're healing. So
mhm.
there's a bunch of science and data behind why these work. And so if you're very skeptical, just there's I'd have to find the name of the book, but it will break down each rock and how it was formed and the energy signature behind it, which
Okay.
it's the same thing with sound healing. Sound healing
Mhm,
is frequency, and what sound healing does is it helps your body attune to a certain frequency. So a friend of mine had said this statement, and I love it. She's like, "You're always attuned and aligned to something. It's just what are you aligned to?" And so in energy work, we're aligning our energy to the desires of who we are, to ourselves, to our authentic selves. And with things like, tuning forks or sound bowls, it's helping you attune and align your energy to that frequency, which is what
mhm,
helps you calm down, is what switches you into a different frequency and state yourself. It might
okay.
not be as long term, like energy work integrates over a period of time. So you do a session and you could integrate that energy session up to 2 weeks. Sometimes, most of the time, it's about a week, and then you'll have insights that come in over several weeks. It's essentially helping your body recalibrate. It's kind of like getting a massage. You get a massage, you drink a lot of water because depending on the massage, especially if you get deep tissue, but it's moving the energy within your body.
Right.
And so you have to take care of and prepare the body to repair itself. That's the same thing with energy, is you're then supporting the body through the process of healing.
Right.
So,
Ooh, I love how you explained that. That's such a good
mhm.
analogy. I love it.
Thanks.
My other question is going back to finding a credible Reiki practitioner, holistic practitioner. Are there certain institutions or certifications should be coming from that we should be aware of?
So I got my certification through, and I don't know why I can't remember the acronym, but the International Reiki Center,
Hmm.
or Center for Reiki. And there are different lineages that you can practice under. Mine, while I learned under Reiki, I will say that I have adapted it to more energy-based work. So I am still connecting in with source energy. I'm just not necessarily utilizing the different symbols that are used in Reiki. So my practice has shifted a little bit.
Hmm.
There's not a whole lot of different certifications that you can get. Now, you do want to find somebody who has been trained in some form of energy practice, whether that's shamanic journeying, energy medicine through other different indigenous tribes, or Reiki itself. So, because there's so many different lineages that, again, it's finding which one resonates the most with you, and just making sure that they've gone through the actual like lesson, and like just to make sure of an integrity that they know what they're doing, because energy work is so sacred. And that's the big thing, is just you can double check their certifications for sure. For me, I went through all the way to the master level because I knew I wanted to teach people how to practice.
Okay.
And that was just really important. Yeah, like so levels one, level one is all about learning about yourself. And so that's why every practitioner is constantly on a journey of self-discovery.
Hmm.
I don't think you ever go out of that, just
Hmm.
because we have so much we can expand into. Once we've really honed into this embodiment, then we can do like other aspects of the soul. But level one is all about the self. Level two is learning how to practice with others. Level three is how do you teach others?
Hmm.
And so you can see where the transition, it's a natural progression and you feel called and aligned to it when you're ready. And sometimes that progression is a couple of years, sometimes it's pretty fast. Like, just really depends on the person and their openness to do the work.
Hmm.
So,
Okay. Mm. Wow. Okay. I'm gonna ask you kind of like a funny question or weird, but if your energy had a theme song, what would it be and why?
oh my gosh, of course you. I love all music, so it's
Hmm.
really this is a little bit challenging to answer because
Hmm.
my brain's trying to think of the song itself. But I would say so recently the song Celebrate has made its way onto my high vibe track. So I feel like that's like me in a nutshell. Like I'm always celebrating something. I'm always excited to celebrate others and I just really like enjoying life. Like
Yeah.
I don't have to do it through substances. I get to enjoy it
Hmm.
through just being in the presence of others, which is really cool.
Yeah. Ooh, I love that answer.
Yeah.
What about what's the funniest or most unexpected thing that's happened during a Reiki session?
Okay, so I don't know about funny, but I would say one of the coolest, well, okay, so I have a couple. So I think the coolest thing was when I did a session with a woman who was in Germany and she found me online and she was pregnant and didn't tell me. And I like picked up on it. I was like, and I'm always cautious
Hmm.
because, pregnancy can be such a gentle topic these days with so much infertility. So I was really nervous to say it,
Hmm.
but I was like, are you pregnant or are you trying to be pregnant? Because I felt the presence of like
Hmm.
like a child. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, I'm due next month." So that was really cool as
Hmm.
a practitioner to pick up on it. And I will say the bond between mother and child, specifically her and her child, was so beautiful that I started crying.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, because when I was doing the session, I picked up on her love. Like she was there because she cared really so much about her child. And so it just like was almost just overwhelming how much she loved this child who wasn't even here yet. And then I had this one session where the client like during the session I kept seeing this chess table and it was like a small chess table, two chairs, nothing too crazy. And I told her, I was like, I kept seeing this chess table and then this like park bench and the water. And she's like, oh my gosh, my dad and mom used to play chess in the kitchen or living room,
Hmm.
something like that in their home. And it was a two-seater. And her father had passed away a few years ago. So it was kind of cool. Like he was coming in to say hello and that he loved her and he was supporting her journey.
Wow.
And yeah, it was really cool.
Hmm.
I don't get that
Oh,
all the
man.
time, but that was really fun.
I love that. I love that. And if you
Mm.
could give an energy session to a historical figure, dead or alive, or maybe just not a historical figure, but a famous person, who would you zap with your healing energy and why?
Oh my gosh. So I think I would really love to have a session with Prince. I've only just
Ah.
recently understood. Well, I've only
Hmm.
recently understood from an astrologer that I've been following how much his music was
Hmm.
higher conscious channeling. And I
Yeah.
never really knew that about him. Like my
Hmm.
mom loved listening to him, so
Hmm.
like I grew up with it, long road trips back in the day. You had a
Hmm.
tape that you would listen to both sides, click over. But anyway, so I didn't really realize how much I would just love to be in conversation with him to hear further into his story and his journey and like how things filtered through him. And then, of course,
Hmm.
energy to support him. But yeah, it would be
Yeah.
amazing.
That's crazy you say that because I remember coming to the US, I was 7,
Mhm.
and I remember watching Purple Rain. I had no idea who this
Yeah, that song came
person
through.
was. Yeah. And I was just like, and I felt this energy from him, like this sensation. And it was
Hmm.
very I don't even have a word for it, but every time I saw him on anything, which wasn't very much because I wasn't really a fan. I just knew of him and
Yeah.
I admired the way he would make me feel if I saw even a short little interview, like a clip. It's like his
Mhm.
aura was just powerful. So it's funny you say that.
Hmm.
It made me realize like,
Yeah.
wow, that's energy
Yeah.
right there.
It
Um,
is. It literally is. That's so
yeah.
cool. Yeah. Love it.
And so what's your go-to snack or your guilty pleasure after a long day of healing other people's energy?
So, fun fact about
Mhm.
energy work, and this goes for the practitioner and the client, is that usually you will crave sweets. And it is
Oh.
like a thing. I don't know if it's just because we burn so many calories doing the work. Like as a
Mm-hmm.
practitioner, I always have to have extra water. I have like all the cups. But and I'm trying to get better about reaching for fruit, instead of chocolate because that's my go-to are the Justin's dark chocolate peanut
Oh,
butter cups
those are
or
so good.
almond peanut butter cups. Oh my gosh.
Mm-hmm.
Those are my guilty
Mm-hmm.
pleasure 1,000% because I love it after having energy sessions. Like you definitely crave that sugar. And I think it's because you're burning so many calories. But even clients, I'm always telling them, I'm like, hey, just so you know, it's completely normal if
Mm-hmm.
you want sugar after this. So it's okay if you have some. You don't have to
Mm-hmm.
deprive your body of it.
Right.
So.
Oh, good to know. I love that. Lastly, where can people book an appointment with you?
So I am a verified practitioner on heal.me, and it's heal.me/Candice because I was very new on their platform. So I actually got my first name on there, which is great. And you can also find me on LinkedIn and Instagram if you want to get to know me first. And like I said, I often joke LinkedIn is like my very serious professional profile, and Instagram is like you can totally stalk my life.
I love that answer. Thank you so much, Candice.
You're welcome.
It's been a pleasure. I've definitely learned a lot. I hope that a lot of people take advantage of your offer. And if anything, read more into it. And you never know. You might just find your way looking for a Reiki practitioner or Candice. Don't forget to reach out to her. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this episode, please make sure that you share it. And don't forget to leave a review. Reviews are very valuable. It helps me understand what it is that you like and what you want more of. Thanks again. Hey, did you like that episode? I have an ask. Would you mind leaving me a review? It would really help me improve this podcast so that you can come back and keep listening. Also, don't forget to check me out at dalitalks.com and follow me on social media at dalitalks. Until next time.